9424.
And good morning. It is Friday morning, and this is GRN Alive on this beautiful January 24th, 2020. We are in the second week of Ordinary Time. It's a feast day of St. Francis de Sales, Bishop, Doctor of the Church. I mean, what else can you ask for, right? I mean, this is a beautiful day. I know where I am. Sunshine abounds. I'm not sure how it is in the nation's capital, but we're going to find out because today is the 47th annual March for Life in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to descend upon the nation's capital to promote life and to oppose the crazy laws we have in this country that allow mothers and fathers to kill their children. And so we're going to focus the whole hour, and then even beyond that, EWTN has some great coverage throughout the day today on TV and on radio. And so we're covering it, even if the other media outlets are not covering it today. My name is Dave Palmer, Executive Director here at the station in the North Texas Guadalupe Radio Network office, along with Cecil Anderson, Dr. Chris Malloy, Diane Xavier, handling all of our social media. And don't forget, we are on Facebook Live, we are on YouTube, we're on Twitter, and so go to any one of those and you can see behind the scenes what everything looks like. And then that's Daniel Amore Demore is here with us as well.
Correct.
That's your new name. That's Daniel Demore. Okay, that's what I'm going to start calling you. Daniel's a bright college student, as is Cecil. We're very blessed to have some young people on this show, and folks like Dr. Chris and I, who are young at heart. And so we're glad to be with you. Don't forget, Monday at the same time, Joe and the team down in Houston have the Monday edition of GRN Alive. And also don't forget that we got a car raffle going on. Somebody on March 6th, I think live on this show. It's Friday. I can't promise you we'll do it on the live on this show, but I think we are. We're going to draw the name of a winner of a Cadillac CT5 2020, okay? So get your tickets. You are guaranteed not to win if you don't have tickets. And so let me just give you a quick rundown, and then we'll go to, by the way, Dr. Chris, how you doing? Good morning.
Good. Very good.
Yeah, school has started.
It has started.
Yeah, so you're
I have to dash out of here at 8:40 sharp.
Okay.
I've got a 9 a.m.
All right. I want to see you dashing out of here. And have you ever been to the March for Life?
I have many times when I was in graduate school at Catholic U. A lot of fun. So the Dominicans across the street, they went. John Paul II Institute, which is now at Catholic U.
Yeah.
They went. A lot of us students went. A few faculty back then went. Catholic U's really become a good place, so I'm sure there's a lot more faculty going now. It was a joy. Brought me into the movement. I'll say this: I remember being kind of pro-choice coming from.
Oh, is that right?
Coming from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I was on the road to being like a serious Catholic, and my friend said to me, I said, well, you can't, but they can't raise the kid. So my friend said, so let's say you got a 6-year-old and you can't afford to feed him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, uh-huh. And he said, so you kill him. And I looked at him and I said, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
And he just was quiet. And I said, I didn't know abortion was wrong.
That was a moment. Yeah.
It was a big moment for me. I was in
I
Colonel
hate that.
Brooks Tavern in D.C.
Yeah, amazing. Daniel, ever been to the National March?
I have not been to the March for Life before, but I have been to D.C. long time ago, probably when I was 10. But yeah, I've never actually been to the March for Life.
Yeah, I've been once.
Yeah.
Went there with my wife, my young child. I think we just had one child at the time. I think it was.
You flew out?
Yeah, flew out. We did live coverage out there. It was about 10, 12 years ago. Cecil, you been?
Yeah, I went a couple years ago. The year after the blizzard. I missed the blizzard
Oh,
one.
did you? Okay.
Yeah, but I went with a group from the Diocese of Fort Worth.
All right. So during this hour, very exciting.
My daughter's there now.
Yeah, that's too bad. We could have hooked up with her.
I know.
We could have connected.
I just texted her. Maybe she can.
And I'm getting texts this morning from people, hey, we're out here. Can we be on the radio with you? And I was like, gosh, we got to plan a little bit more than that. But we're glad that there are a lot of people out there. In just a moment, Michael Washabaugh, our operations manager from WMET, is going to join us, kind of give us the feel of how things are going there. And he's also at the headquarters of EWTN, and he has welcomed everybody. I don't know if everybody listening can come, but all the GRN folks that want to go and get a cup of hot chocolate and see the studio, he'll mention that as well. Eddie Perez, president of a women's haven in San Antonio, is going to join us at the bottom of the hour, and he's out there with his parents and his wife and some folks from a women's haven in San Antonio. And then this is really cool. I've got a 14-year-old nephew. His name is Chandler Pilkington, my sister and brother-in-law's son. He's 14 years old. And this dude is mixing it up in the culture. He goes to a public school, and through the grace of God, he is out there actively looking for conversations, debating pro-life. And so I did a little interview with him. We're going to play at
That's
about
awesome.
40 after. And so Chandler's very inspiring for a young guy. Yeah, most of us just kind of want to, we're pro-life, but do I really want to get into a lot of conversations? And Chandler's out there looking for opportunities in a peaceful way. And then at the end of the show, two other people who are at the march are going to join us. One is a Catholic high school teacher from Pennsylvania. He's out there with 32 high school kids and a few chaperones. And we're also going to talk to a lady who has a PhD in education. She's from Colorado, and she is out in D.C. Her parents live in Bowie, Maryland, and she's the first time ever that she's been to the March for Life. And so we got a busy show, to say the least. And also, there's a lot of stories going on. President Trump is going to be there for the first president ever in 47
Incredible.
years, which in and of itself surprises me. It's not like it's
not its second year of
asking me to go to my backyard. I mean, it's right there. You don't even have to travel. And I'm surprised in 47 years no presidents have gone, but it's a good sign that he is going to be there. All right. So also there's a new documentary being made by a NFL football player. If you hate the New England Patriots, like a lot of people do, this is a reason to like the Patriots, because this guy is a tight end for the New England Patriots. And Sissel has a cool story to share about good news coming from overseas about one of the oldest abortion clinic in England is shutting down. And so praise God for that. They've killed 250,000 babies at that place. And so lots to talk about, lots of good news today. And it's all coming your way in the next 54 minutes, all right? But before that, we'll go to Sissel with a look at news. Good morning, Sissel.
Good morning, GRN listeners. The impeachment trials continue, and California Representative Adam Schiff has become the Democratic star speaker. He spoke for 2 hours during the trial Wednesday and gave an emotional speech on Thursday, pleading with Republicans to turn against Trump. Today, Trump's lawyers will take the stage and plan to argue that the president did nothing wrong in his dealings with Ukraine, and the Democratic charge that he abused his power has no constitutional significance. If Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell does not lose the votes of 4 of his members, he can block a Democratic effort to prolong the trial by subpoenaing the witnesses as former National Security Advisor John Bolton and acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, a big pro-life political group, has announced that it plans. A big pro-life political group has announced that it plans to support President Donald Trump and pro-life senatorial candidates in their 2020 election campaigns. The Susan B. Anthony List and Women Speak Out PAC, its partner Super PAC, said Friday that it plans to spend $52 million in the 2020 election cycle. That is the largest amount spent by the group in any election cycle in the past. This news came after Planned Parenthood announced that it will spend $45 million in a We Decide 2020 campaign to support pro-abortion candidates at the presidential, congressional, and state levels, the largest election spending in Planned Parenthood's history as well. Spending by the Susan B. Anthony list will focus on a strong ground game in battleground states. While the group will invest in digital media and mail and phone calls, it will prioritize door knocking and face-to-face interaction. With the news, this is Sissel Anderson.
All right, Sissel, thank you so much. And it is 8 minutes after the hour now, and we want to hear from you. Maybe, nowadays, you're on your app and you're at the march. I know things haven't really started out there yet, but you're getting geared up and you're listening. Maybe you're listening to WMET and you're on your way out there. Call us up and let us know, what are you doing today? Maybe you're just across somewhere else in the network and you're going to adoration. You're going to go to Mass this morning and devote your prayers at Mass to the cause for life. Let us know what you're doing. We'll put you on. You got to be quick because we got a lot of guests on today, but we'd love to hear from you. 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. As I mentioned, also all the social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can comment there if you'd like, and just let us know that you're watching and that you're supporting life. And like I said, don't forget, there's going to be coverage in EWTN TV and radio throughout the day. So it's an exciting day. It's a great day to celebrate life. And Let's celebrate Michael Washabaugh. We have him with us, Operations Manager, WMET
Hey, Dave, how are you?
1160 AM. Good, Mike. Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so tell us, what's the vibe, what's the feeling out there? You're right there at Ground Zero, and many people don't know, and I've never been to your studio, but you look outside the window of the studio, and you can basically see Capitol Hill and the White House.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
No, well, not the White House. We got a clear, one of the best, if not the best views of the United States Capitol building right out of our WMET studio windows. If you look to the right, you can catch the top of the Washington Monument as well, which is significant because the march is taking place. Things are getting started with the rally on the Mall here in a couple of hours, and it's an electric feel already. I got to preface this by saying I live outside of Baltimore. I take a train into Union Station and walk 5 minutes to the office from there. The trains on Fridays normally completely empty because a lot of federal workers take the day off. They get the 3-day weekend, what have you. Not today. The trains were packed. Union Station was just flooded with people. There's an incredible security presence, obviously, even more so this year with the news of President Trump speaking at the rally. So there is a lot of excitement happening right now, right outside of our building.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I remember I went actually. I've promised. I went to the Trump rally a couple of months ago, and whenever they have the Democratic nominee, I'm going to go to their rally. I just am curious of what these rallies are like. But when I went to the Trump rally, boy, the security, people were waiting literally 8 hours to get in because of the security. And I'm just wondering how, and not that you're in charge of security and logistics, Michael, but how in the world do you do this with 200,000-300,000 people in the mall and the president speaking? You've already kind of hinted at there's a greater sense, but it does kind of change everything. But thanks be to God that he's going to be there.
No, absolutely. Thanks be to God that he is going to be there. There is the security is problematic already. I was talking with Chris Cardno. He's the operations manager for EWTN as they get ready to actually they have already kicked off their live coverage of the March for Life. It started at 9:00 Eastern time and it's going to continue straight through 3-4 o'clock. They actually had their truck in the field. Everybody had to get out. Secret Service did their security sweep of the area, and then people had to go back through the metal detectors and what have you to get in. Just in case anybody's listening, to make it easier on people, there's some things that you shouldn't bring. Aside from the obvious, the firearms and the weapons, what have you, don't bring. And we gotta say that because there are some people that would,
not a
how
good
that
idea.
goes.
Don't bring that today. Leave that at
bad
home. Yes.
idea. Also leave at home selfie sticks, coolers, backpacks. That's the big one. Do not bring your backpacks with you.
Yeah.
Or bicycles. A lot of times, DC is like a little bit of a biking area. Don't do it today. They're not going to let it happen. They're going to shut it down. You're going to have to take it away. You cannot get in to the march with a bicycle today.
What are the numbers? What are the expected numbers?
I've heard they're hoping for 500,000.
Wow. That's amazing.
And how does that contrast to, say, last year?
So last year they were looking at I want to say they were looking at about 300,000. It's very hard for them to get the exact number.
Yeah.
So the estimates were about 300,000. I'm looking at reports right now that are saying organizers are saying an estimated 100,000 people are expected to converge. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a lot higher, especially since Trump has come out and said that he is going to be speaking. And unlike keynote speakers in the past, he's not going to go for his 2 minutes. He's not going to do.
Yeah.
I think Mike Pence spoke from between 5 to 7 minutes a couple years back. This is going to essentially become not only is he going to be a keynote, it's going to be a little bit of a political rally for him because it's also going to be on the Mall, which is the backdrop of the Capitol building where the impeachment trial is taking place currently. So there's a lot of optics that are going on in D.C. today.
Nice juxtaposition.
Yeah, and one of the cool things, Michael Washabaugh, by the way, joining us, Operations Manager, WMET 1160 AM. He has got hot chocolate for anybody that wants to stop by and see the studio.
Can he send some here?
I don't know. I mean, nowadays, I think
does
we could
Texas
do that.
drink hot chocolate? Is that a thing down
We
there?
do.
Yeah.
We turn up our air conditioning.
And hot tea.
Yeah, we stand by the freezer and we open up the door and we get ourselves nice and cold, and then we drink hot
Yes,
chocolate.
exactly.
Well, we have a beautiful day for this, Dave. It's going to be a high of 53 degrees. No precipitation is expected today. It's really an ideal day to march, to do this march. And yeah, Joseph Schuler and myself decided that we're going to open up the studios for a little bit of time to fuel up the marchers pre-march. So 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 shortly after noon p.m. You can come up here. We got some donuts. We have some hot chocolate. What we're going to ask, and we have some people who have RSVP'd already, when you come up, we want you to be able to tell us why you're marching. So we're going to actually take it to a Facebook Live feed. You can check out all of that, facebook.com/GRN online. You know, that's kind of where you're watching the show, too. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to have people in here telling us why they march right before they go in March.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, be sure to check that out, facebook.com/GRN online. And that's where we are right now, as Michael mentioned, also YouTube and Twitter, and on the good old radio stations across the network as well. Potential audience of 20 million people. Michael, in addition, of course, Trump's going to get all the attention, but there's a lot of other speakers there today as well. In fact, I was happy to see that there are representatives of both political parties. You've got a lady named Katrina Jackson, who's a Democrat, state senator from Louisiana. Of course, Representative Chris Smith from New Jersey. He's kind of a staple there. The First Lady of Louisiana is going to be there, and those are just some of the highlights, but some good speakers other than President Trump today.
Oh, absolutely. Congressman Steve Scalise is always going to be there. Huge pro-life advocate is Steve Scalise. So you're also going to have Jim Daly, who's the president of Focus on the Family. Marjorie Dannenfelser, the president of the Susan B. Anthony list, is going to be there as well. It's going to be a star-studded lineup of speakers today. But one of the things that I'm most excited about, Dave, and I'm not sure if you did this when you came up to March, is whenever they actually get to the Supreme Court Justice Building, right? Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court. And then you start hearing the testimonies from the people advocating for life. And the silent no more testimonies are so powerful and they resonate so loudly. And it's really directed to the representatives or the senators. So they do vote, for life.
Yeah, that's a nice way to close it out. And I know, silent no more. And there's always. I heard an interview that you had done with Eddie Perez, who's going to be joining us later on this hour, and you're talking about the protesters. And there's going to be a few, but if you look at the proportion of the people protesting, the people out there for life, I mean, it is overwhelmingly pro-life and young people. It's amazing how young the crowd is. If you're 95 years old, God bless you for being out there. I hate when they only stress the young people because we want everybody of all ages, mothers, fathers, grandparents. But it's a very diverse crowd, racially, age-wise, even religiously, isn't it, Michael?
It sure is. And that was one of the first things that really caught my attention was how many young people actually come out to do this. And I'm talking young as in not 20s to 30s. I'm talking teenagers, sometimes 10, 12 years old. These children, they're children, Dave, they're coming out and they're marching in support of life. And can you imagine when in 10 years, when they are 20, when they are 18, able to vote, what have you, how that's going to impact the legislation as it moves forward as we try to get Roe v. Wade overturned.
We need to keep this up because that's another thing. If you have a march for an opposite cause, right, the march to the right to choose or whatever, think about who's going to that. Who's going to that are people who don't have children, and it's probably not too many. Mostly college, single, double income, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting. It's hard to get pro-lifers who have these big families to go.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And that was one.
Mike.
That was one of the keys in which why they have changed the march from the anniversary of Roe v. Wade to the Friday around it.
Yeah,
so more
a smart
families
move.
could actually make this an entire weekend trip. You can take one day off as opposed to 3 days off of work and make the trip down to D.C. or up to D.C., wherever you're coming from. I know people come across the entire country to do this march. But that was a brilliant move by organizers.
Now, you work on the Hill. Can I put a plug in? Theological Principles on Voting.
Go for it.
Very important. The doctrine, the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, 2002 document. Listeners really need to go and read that document. 2002, Participation in Political Life. Here's a line. They talk about moral principles that, quote, do not admit of exception, compromise, or derogation. And what's the first one they point out? Abortion and euthanasia. The second one, the family, monogamous man and woman. The third, right to educate your children according to your familial principles. Those are the first three sets of, and those are the three things that we know who supports those, and we know whose platform doesn't support those, even if they're a political, members of a political party that, they understand there are some other good causes, and they say they join them, but they reject these platform. But what did the lead Democrat candidates for, what did they say yesterday about abortion? They all said, quote unquote, we will codify it into federal law so that it's not any longer just a constitutional right guaranteed by a decision or two.
Yeah, amazing. Michael, I know you're busy. You're setting everything up out there, and you're going to have swarms of people coming for hot chocolate within about an hour or so. So let's take another minute. Just any last thoughts or encouragement for folks out there who may want to come by, or anything else you want to say before we let you go?
Yeah, don't drive. If you're planning on driving, do not do it. The road closures around D.C. are going to be disgusting. Take the metro. Be sure that your Smart Trip card is loaded beforehand. And here's a little. This is like a shout out to our D.C. Brethren, if you will. Escalators rather. In D.C., you stand on the right, you walk on the left. If you're visiting, please try to adhere to that because it's really a thing here.
It is. I remember when I went with my group, we got yelled at so many times for doing the wrong thing. I'm sorry. We were the sweet Southerners who had no idea what we were doing.
I'd be the guy doing everything to bug Michael. Not purposely. I would just be like,
we were just in the way
ignorant
of everybody.
Yeah. Well, so you've been there a long time, and so you kind of know what's going on. So
yeah.
All right. So don't drive. Don't bring firearms. Anything. Some of this common sense stuff. So
it's a lot of common sense stuff, but really just go out and enjoy it because you're going to be surrounded by thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of people who are supporting the same cause that you are doing, and your voice will be heard. Of all days today, it will be heard. You're starting on the mall and you're ending in front of the Supreme Court. It's going to be just beautifully done. EWTN, their coverage is magnificent. There's no other coverage like it out there. So if you want to watch it, I encourage you. Catherine Hadro and Father Patrick Mary are going to lead the EWTN coverage with Debbie Cowden. They're going to do something special with social media. Teresa Tomio is in the field today. It's really a great day for pro-life.
Amen. And I know you and your wife welcomed a baby into your family in the last year, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We love babies, right?
Yeah.
Right.
4.5 months. Doing
Right.
wonderfully.
You sleeping?
Praise God.
Very little.
And Michael still has a lot of enthusiasm, but that's
fantastic.
It's the hot chocolate.
It's the vigil.
So much caffeine flowing in
right.
these studios today.
Hey, Michael, thanks so much. Good to talk with you, and God bless you. Make sure if you are, going to be in D.C. and you're listening right now and you want to go get some hot chocolate, you can text me if you want. You can.
What's the address again?
Shoot me an email,
Yeah,
Michael@grnonline.com. It's really easy, Michael@grnonline.com. We can get you all the details of the address and what you need to bring to get into the building and all that fun stuff.
All right, very good. Thanks, Michael Washington.
Thanks, guys.
Operations Manager, WMET 1160 AM. Wow, he really promotes the coverage at EWTN well, and it is important to watch this and listen. And nowadays there's so many different ways to pay attention to this. All right, before we go to our next guest, who's going to be Eddie Perez from San Antonio, Women's Haven is his apostolate there in San Antonio. I want to talk about a few of the things. I want to touch again on President Trump being there, first president to ever attend the March for Life.
Yeah.
And he tweeted the other day, "See you on Friday, big crowd," the president said Wednesday in a retweet of a video. Jeannie Mancini, the president for March for Life, said that she is deeply honored to welcome Trump to the march. And she said, quote, "He will be the first president in history to attend, and we are so excited for him to experience in person how passionate our marchers are about life and protecting the unborn," end quote. And as I mentioned before, I'm a little surprised because if you go back, 30 years ago or so, Jesse Jackson was pro-life, Al Gore was pro-life, Eddie Kennedy was pro-life. And so I'm just curious as to why, 30 years ago, the presidents, when it wasn't really as big of a political issue, weren't showing up, even for political reasons. It's odd that it's taken 47 years for a president to show up in person.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know what to say.
Did I just
Yeah,
baffle you with the
No, they would
profundity
say
of
like
that statement?
the vice presidents would show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it was clear that it was like part of the Reagan administration and the Bush administration,
But it is something I think, unique and definitely stands out more when the president himself makes the time
Oh, yeah.
to come.
And maybe there's
for sure.
security concerns. I mean, putting
yeah,
a president
sure.
in front of
That's
a
true.
huge group, a very, very, favorable and friendly crowd.
That's true.
But still, yeah.
2004, President George W. Bush did thank the marchers for their, quote, devotion to such a noble cause. 2017, Vice President Mike Pence became the highest-ranking politician to address the March for Life in person. 2018, U.S. Speaker Paul Ryan spoke at the March for Life, while President Trump addressed attendees of the march via videocast. Last year, Trump also addressed the march via a pre-recorded message, which was introduced in person by Vice President Pence and Second Lady Karen Pence. And so I got to say, when he was running for president and he was talking a lot of pro-life stuff, I was like,
weren't sure.
we'll
We weren't
see. We'll
sure.
see what
Yeah.
happens. It's a
we've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 2017 was the year I went, and so that was the first year. I mean, the year that Vice President Mike Pence came, which caused a lot of. It was interesting because it was only a few weeks after he'd been sworn in. President Trump was. So there were definitely some interesting conversations we heard on the street just before the march, just like people who are maybe not for Trump and stuff like that. But then you went and Vice President Mike Pence came, and it really changed. I felt like it changed the mood because that was a big year. I think they said about 500,000 that year when I went.
Yeah.
So
The fact that they have good
500,000 then.
Half a million then.
might-
So
we
imagine
might
when
have
Trump
more.
comes.
I think
Yeah.
I mean, because if I'm real close, we're long way away. But if I'm real close and I find out the president's going to be there, there's a cool vibe in there. I think I may just
Sure.
say,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm just
Hop on
gonna
the
show
metro.
up, get
Yeah.
my car, and no, I'm kidding.
I'm there.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Another story in the news, and I know, Sissy, you've got one as well. Pro-life New England Patriots player Benjamin Watson is releasing an abortion documentary. He's 39 years old, which is pretty old to be playing in the NFL, unless you're Tom Brady. He's executive producing Divided Hearts of America, a film that features interviews with roughly 30 Americans, some of whom support legalized abortion and some of whom do not. Voices featured in the film include Dr. Ben Carson, former presidential candidate, and also Alveda King, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow.
You're seeing more of this. I mean, you're a film major, and Daniel's radio and TV. You're seeing more of the media being used to support pro-life causes. And so I tell you, there's a lot of good stuff going on in the pro-life movement right now.
Absolutely. I love that he's coming and doing this because I think people, kind of idolize people in the NFL, NFL players. So that he's taking a stand on this, I think, is a really big thing.
He and his wife have 7 kids.
Gee whiz.
A lot of people, even if they have a lot, and that's about how many kids you have, right?
Just about.
Approximately, yeah. Have you done a count recently? But I mean, a lot of times people, even if they have a lot of money, because you think like, oh, you can't afford having, 7 kids. But praise God for that. I mean, that's a real pro-life witness. And, the couple that has no kids, but desire kids, but they just can't have them. That's a pro-life witness, the very desire for it itself.
One of the things that I think we can hope for too is movies, like powerful,
Yes. Yeah.
powerful, and not simply explicit pro-life movies,
No.
but subtle, and that really are testaments to true human values, are artistically really well done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just to show the value of human life, and I think it could be done. And I have ideas, but if anyone wants to fund a movie, call me.
Are you starting a GoFundMe on GRN Alive? The other thing about this Benjamin Watson that's really cool is that he got into a public debate with Alyssa Milano, who's Hollywood, and she had said that the pro-life movement is basically racist, and he's an African American himself, and he fired back. But then he also lamented the fact that he thinks there's a lot of people in Hollywood who are pro-life, but they can't express their opinions. He said, quote, dissenting views should be respected and in fact encouraged. There are many people in Hollywood, he said, who would consider themselves pro-life, but they feel as though their viewpoint is unacceptable in the industry. No one should feel like their job is in danger because of their convictions on this issue. And think about it, like at the Golden Globes when Michelle Williams gets up there and talks about how proud she is of her abortion. Imagine if somebody accepted an award and they get up there and they say just anything that's like remotely pro-life or pro-traditional marriage. I mean, they're never going to work in Hollywood again.
Well, this is the thing where it's the lie of liberalism, right? They say they're open-minded, but really they're
Right.
not.
No, they're not.
And the thing is, you can't be absolutely relativistic.
Yeah.
You have to take a stance. They do. So the relativism is kind of like a stage of, it's a lie stage until you advance your cause. Then your worldview, which is liberalism, right? The individual right to choose. That's it. That's the number one thing.
I know.
Then that trumps everything else. Family, right? Et cetera. Life, the life of the child. No, it trumps everything except for the freely acting adult, if you will.
Yeah, amazing. Real quick, I'm sorry, because I know we're going to get Eddie on. Do you want to mention real quickly that story about the abortion clinic in England?
The,
and then you got to after that.
The oldest abortion clinic in the UK or in England closed down after over like 40, 50 years of being open. 250,000 babies were killed there, and it's very tragic, but it's also incredibly amazing. There were 40 Days for Life campaigns that were praying outside there, and I just know that they were witness to the workers, because they said the people praying outside said they had a good relationship with the workers inside. And one of the workers, when one of the vigil prayers had asked them why it was closing down, they said things are changing.
Yeah,
that's what they said. And I also just love this one thing that one of the women said, is that this is an incredible message of hope to all Catholics who recognize Our Lady's role in crushing Satan. So I thought that was really nice.
I love it. Our
Yeah.
Lady. And Diane's put a picture up there of the clinic on Facebook Live. Thank you, Diane, for doing that. All right, so Sissel's going to get Eddie Perez on the line, president and CEO of A Women's Haven. Their website is awomenshaven.org. And I talked to him the other day. Thanks to Richard Reyna, our GM down in San Antonio. He connected me with Eddie, and he's there with his wife, his parents, and just kind of highlights the fact that in every community, here in North Texas, of course, there's a lot of them. There's people, people say, oh, pro-lifers only care about the baby. They don't care about the mother and the father. I mean, what a bunch of malarkey. I mean, there's so many of these people that are dedicating their lives to these kind of apostolates, helping, women and men and families at every stage.
And if we focus on the innocent in the womb, it's because we got to get them out of the womb alive.
Yeah, right. Because if they don't get out of the womb, they can't.
Yeah,
and
you can't help them later.
All right, so with no further ado, Eddie Perez, as I mentioned, President, CEO, A Women's Haven. Just put a .org at the end of that, and you'll find their website. If you go there, it says, A Women's Haven is here to help you make an informed decision. We understand you need a place to think, to process, and to share what's on your mind in a non-judgmental environment. We're here to give you all your options and support you. Eddie Perez, good morning.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for joining us this morning. So it sounds very quiet where you are. Tell us, you're going to be participating in the march in D.C. today with your wife, your parents, some of your the folks from your Women's Haven. What are you guys doing right now? What are your plans for the day?
Yeah, so we're going to head over there pretty quickly, probably in the next 30 minutes or so. I'm actually found a quiet space here in the hotel a couple of floors up. So that's why it's quiet. But downstairs in the lobby, it's crazy because obviously the president is going to be speaking. So everybody's going out there early. I'm assuming to get as close to the stage as possible.
Yeah. Have you been before, Eddie? And if so, how does this compare to your past experiences?
Yes, I came last year by myself. I wanted to experience it and see what it was like. Kind of ironic is that I grew up here in D.C., in the D.C. area, and I never went to the march. And then when I graduated college, I moved out to San Antonio, and 25 years later, came back here to go to the march. So, I was here last year by myself, and then this year I brought a crew of about 10. So I have some of my managers, board members, and so forth.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I know just the logistics of trying to get even yourself out there, like last year, much less, I think it's your parents, your wife, your kids, some of your coworkers.
Yeah.
How did that decision come, and how were you able to get such a big group to go out to this year?
Yeah, I booked early.
Yeah.
So I got plane tickets like this summer, and then as soon as the spots opened up in the hotel where everything's going on, which is the Renaissance, I just booked it right away. Me and my family came in Wednesday night, and then our staff Came in on Thursday, got here about noon. So we've just kind of been running around ever since.
Tell us about a women's haven. I think if I remember right from our conversation phone the other day, it was actually your parents who started it, and then now you're the president running it. Tell us about that apostolate down in San Antonio.
Yeah, my mom actually has been a pregnancy crisis counselor for over 35 years now. So she's been doing it a long time, mostly in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. When she retired into San Antonio, when I graduated college and I was there, that's her hometown actually, where she grew up. So her and my father moved to San Antonio. Right away, she wanted to get involved with a pregnancy center. And within a couple of months, they wanted her to be the executive director. So she took over and has been doing it since 2005, I believe. My wife actually started helping her as well. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she had a lot of corporate experience. So they were running it. Her, my wife, my mom, my dad, running it for a while, and I just kind of, for whatever reason, just didn't really want to have anything to do with it. I wasn't opposed to it at all, but I just didn't get involved for like I said, whatever reason. And then I went on a Acts retreat at my church in 2012 or so, and everything changed. Where I just knew that I needed to serve, I needed to make a difference and change the world if I could. And the agency was struggling. And they asked me if I would take over, and I did, and that was it. You know, I went full speed ahead. So I've been doing it ever since 2013.
Yeah, Eddie Perez, president of a Women's Haven Pregnancy Center. The tagline is, "For when your heart is at a crossroad." And Eddie, we mentioned a moment ago, there are wonderful pregnancy centers like yours in markets all across the land, across the world, and God bless you for what you're doing. You really are, you know, women realize they're pregnant. It's an undesired pregnancy, a crisis pregnancy. They are in a crisis. Maybe their boyfriend or husband has abandoned them, or whatever the circumstances. They go and search.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, what do you all do? How do you help women in this situation?
Yeah, so we took a little bit of a different approach. My mom, it was my mom's philosophy actually, which was, I think that one of the mistakes that has happened in the pro-life movement over the years is that it's been too much focused on, let's save the baby, whatever it takes to save the baby. And we took a different approach. It was, let's save the mother, which then saves the baby. So we had really unbelievable statistics to where we knew that whenever a girl came to our pregnancy center and talked to one of our counselors, about 95% of them ended up walking out there deciding to choose life. And it was because we loved on them, we supported them, we made sure they had the resources that they needed to feel confident that they could raise this child. And that's all it takes. Honestly, if I wish there was a law that said any woman who's pregnant has to go see a pregnancy crisis counselor first, because if they did, abortion would end overnight. Because that's how powerful and how awesome the pregnancy counselors are. Unfortunately, with the abortion facilities' budgets, they're able to market themselves. They have basically an unlimited budget, whereas pregnancy centers struggle in the area of getting the resources and the finances that they need to be able to be more marketable and to let the girls know in their communities that they're there and that they're available.
So Eddie, if there are listeners who want to support your program, how do they do that?
Yeah, so it's a woman's haven, so singular. So it's actually AWAMANSHAVEN. So a womanshaven.org.
All right, and so what's the schedule? You guys probably in the next hour or so are going to head on out. You're beginning to march and going to just kind of take in all the events and march and festivities today.
Yeah, we're going to go to the rally, and they have I think they have a Christian band that's playing for a while, and then they'll have a bunch of speakers, and the big one obviously being the president, and then after that. The march starts, and I think we head towards the Capitol, and then they have the Silent No More testimonies that happen, and then also people go to the the different politicians' offices and talk to them and try to talk to them about what it means to be pro-life.
Yeah, that's great. Eddie,
yeah.
got to let you go, but it's so encouraging
Okay.
that you did that. I know you got kids and a wife and parents and
Yeah.
some of the folks
Yeah.
there. You got the whole crew out there, and like you said, you planned early. And so
Sure.
thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah.
God bless you, and thanks for spending some time with us, okay?
All right, Dave. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Eddie Perez there with a woman's haven. Okay, he made that distinction. A womanshaven.org. They're out of South Texas and San Antonio, and he's out there at the march today. And wow, it's 39 minutes after already. And Sissel, we've got still a lot to come. We're going to take a little break, right? And then we come back and we're going to hear the little discussion I had with Chandler Pilkington. He happens to be my nephew. But I just, in conversations with him, in like family gatherings, I'm like, boy, this guy is on fire, and he's 14 years old. So we'll play that, and then we got some other folks to talk to before the top of the hour as well. So let's take a break. You're listening to GRN Alive Friday edition, and we'd like to hear from you as well. It's a busy hour, but always time for you. 877-757-9424. We'll be back.
Amy is a real GRN listener, and so to help tell her story about buying a GRN raffle ticket, we hired an impersonator of LSU football coach Ed Ogeron.
When my husband and I found out we could support the GRN by buying a raffle ticket to win the new Cadillac CT5 Luxury, we called 888-784-3476 and bought 5 tickets for $100.
That's the best deal in America.
Later, my husband surprised me by buying even more tickets by going to grnonline.com.
He a good man. Go Tigers.
Did you know that there are several ways for you to stay connected to the Guadalupe Radio Network? Visit our website at grnonline.com or hang out with us at facebook.com/grnonline. You can even tweet us. Just search for @GRNOnline. And don't forget, you can connect to our email list with your smartphone. Just text the letters GRN to the number 42828. Get connected and be blessed.
Hi, this is Len Oswald, president of the GRN. The promises that we made when we formed La Promesa Foundation, which were made in a covenant of love to our Lord Jesus Christ and to Our Lady of Guadalupe, were that we would protect the sanctity of life from conception until natural death, carry out the mission of evangelization as called for by baptism, help build strong holy families, and promote holy vocations. Starting with absolutely nothing, we placed our trust in the Lord and our Blessed Mother, and in August 1996, we were breaking ground to build a Catholic Resource Center in West Texas. 4 years later, we went on the air with our first radio station, and we now operate 35 stations. We are the largest EWTN affiliate in the United States. We are your Catholic radio station. Radio for your soul, and I want to thank you for being part of the Guadalupe Radio Network family.
All right, join me in studio, 14-year-old Chandler Pilkington. As I mentioned, he happens to be my nephew, but I'm very impressed with him. He's a 9th grader, and he's not only pro-life, but he is actively pro-life. He is debating with people who are pro-choice, and he goes out there and he doesn't just, check the box and say I'm pro-life, but he's getting out there and he's mixing it up. And so he is kind of a model, I say, of a young person today. So Chandler, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I look at you and I see you out there mixing it up and being actively pro-life. What motivates you? What inspires you to be out there? Not just pro-life, but trying to actually turn people's opinions and influence the culture as a young person.
I guess being adopted and knowing that there are each baby in the womb has a gender, and so there are little girls being murdered because their mother doesn't want them to interfere with their future and anything. And so kind of just seeing how when they say it's a woman's right to choose, it's not the woman in the womb. It's the woman who's controlling this and is forcing her will upon her. So I just kind of why is this happening, and don't want to be in a society where it's death is celebrated. I want to be in a society that's helping other countries upgrade their culture or population.
Mm-hmm. You not only are willing to debate people, charitably, of course, but you actually look for opportunities, don't you? And I think that's very unusual for a 14-year-old. Tell us about some of the ways that you can engage people of your age on this issue?
I guess kind of just trying to like find something that we could talk about. Like, I argued or debated with one girl, and the conversation started off on Bernie Sanders, and then it worked its way up to abortion. And I don't know how it got there. I just think like looking over the policies and of like what the candidates say, and then we singled out on the topic of abortion, and then I kind of just went off from there, and so.
Yeah. And in order to debate, you have to be well informed, right? You have to know your stuff. And so you just can't say, oh, I'm pro-life. And, there's natural law arguments, and we should just be pro-life anyways. But how do you kind of get your information? Where do you go? What are you reading? What are you listening to?
Like watching the movie Unplanned kind of definitely helped me see what it looked like inside Planned Parenthood or abortion clinic. I also read her book, and so I got to see what's inside her mind at the time.
Yeah.
So I can see, like, so this is what they're thinking of, and this is what I could say to try to persuade them that this isn't right, it's wrong. And going to, like, pro-life boot camps, or not boot camps, camps in general. And, like, living with my parents who are pro-life and Catholic, so I can have some conversations about this with them.
Your birth mother chose life, and then my sister, your mom, and her, your dad adopted you. You mentioned adoption at the beginning. How does that influence you, knowing that a wonderful woman chose life for you, and then two wonderful people adopted you? How does that factor into you being so actively pro-life?
It just shows that there is love for everybody out in this world. Like, some people go into the foster care system, and I feel like this being adopted would help people in foster care and help women being like choosing or deciding in between choosing life or choosing abortion. It would show them that more than likely the family that you choose for your child will be special and will be perfect for them and will love them no matter what, even if it's not their child or if it's their. And like if they have siblings, unlike my case where I was the oldest, they will love everybody the same. It won't be where they love one person more than they love your child. So,
What would you say to the young people out there, the 14-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, the young people that say, yeah, maybe when I get older, I'll be actively pro-life? What would you say to the people out there right now who are young like you, who need to really be in the fight?
It takes 60 days for it to become a habit. So I've been doing this for more than 60 days, and so now it's become a habit for me too. Whenever something steers towards the topic of abortion, to immediately defend life and say abortion's murder and stuff like that. And so you if you start it later, it's probably not going to happen. You might volunteer to go to an abortion clinic or in your own free time go to one of those and kind of pray there. But then if you do that every single day for 60 days, then it'll become a habit. So I wanted to start that earlier, and that will probably never leave me until I die. Then it might leave me, of course.
So. Well, then you'll hopefully be in heaven, and so you can continue to be pro-life up in heaven as well. All right, Chandler Pilkington, thank you so much. Keep up the good fight. God bless you.
All right, I will. Thanks.
All right, there it is. It's amazing, so many. You and I are pro-life. You're a lot younger than I am.
Yes.
You're a young person, but how a 14-year-old? And I talked to my sister, and she's like, I don't, I mean, she and her husband, Dr. Dave, are very pro-life, but this is kind of like the grace of God. I mean, a guy
really
that
is.
age to be, out there really, really engaging in the battle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I know I'm definitely someone who's like non-confrontational. So
Yeah.
I'm not looking to debate people, but I'm so glad that someone like he, especially at a young age, is trying to have those conversations with his generation.
Yeah.
It's very important because I definitely wasn't like that, especially at 14.
All right, Daniel, that's Demore. I don't know if you like that nickname or not. I'll come. How you doing? So you're a young person, early 20s, college student. Do you find that you're able to kind of mix it up and talk about this issue, or is it awkward? I know most professors at public institutions are not very pro-life. What's your experience?
My experience with it is, well, coming from a school, I went to University of North Texas in Denton, and there's a very liberal population there. So most of the kids there are in favor of a woman's choice, and there's even a select few who believe abortion should be up to 9 months. So I found that kind of, well, really concerning. So I think the secret is when you're talking to these kind of people is listen first. I think a lot of times we go into kind of an emotional area because we know it's wrong and we really want to defend it. We kind of try to attack, but the secret is really to listen first, hear their arguments, and then logically try to repeat it back to them and explain to them why they might have some holes in their thinking.
Yeah,
that's my experience.
Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah.
Wisdom from a college student there. All right, we're going to spend the last 10 minutes or so of the show talking to a couple of folks from across the land who are in Washington at the March for Life. It's today. It's going on. And my first, and by the way, I want to thank Walter Crawford is one of the owners of Homeschool Connections. This is where I teach my Thomistic philosophy class, and I sent him an email and I said, hey, if you know anybody who's going out there to the March, connect me with them. I got 2 responses, and one of them, Mike Creevy, 9th grade theology teacher at Trinity High School, Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, in the Diocese of Harrisburg, and he's joining us now via phone. He, get this, is with 32 high school students who are going to the march, a few chaperones, also their school chaplain, Father Tim Sod there as well. He joins us. Mike Creevy, good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. So tell us, what are your circumstances? You got you and a few dozen high school kids.
Bless your soul.
Yeah.
What's going on there this morning with you guys?
Well, I'm standing right outside St. Mary, Mother of God Parish here at the intersection of 5th and H Street. So we're downtown. We just got here. They just headed into Mass. I'm going to join them here shortly. But we got here and the street was just packed with people, like all young people about to go into Mass here. So that was the first thing we saw. So we had a good response, and we're just really excited to bring them here today.
Yeah, God bless you for being there. And I know it's going to change their life, and they're probably going to be going multiple times as well. Your thoughts on the march overall? I mean, something inspired you to, the easy thing to do is to stay home, but you decided to bring this whole group of students from your high school. What inspires you to do that?
Well, it's really funny, Dave, too, because staying home is precisely what I did. And many times when I was a student here at Catholic U, oddly enough, back in the day, I wasn't wishy-washy about the issue or my faith or whatever, but I just, I always had an excuse. I was too busy, whatever the case was, and I've always regretted that because it was years after that as I got into youth ministry more and more, leading youth groups and that kind of thing, and then as a seminarian for the Diocese of Harrisburg for a year, and then now ultimately teaching high school. I've come in different capacities, and what really amazes me every single time I'm here is, and everybody says this, the overwhelming majority of the faces here are young people, teens, 20s, early 30s, and now I'm 36, so I'm starting to get older than that. I'm not in that group anymore, so they're starting to inspire me for the future. And the thing that I think is most interesting a lot of times that I run into is, sometimes you get a kid who comes along, quite frankly, just because you get off school. You'll have a kid, or like that girl he likes is coming, and you get those things. But what's amazing is I've seen many times those kids be utterly blown away when they come here and see what it is and hear some of the speakers, and they're just woken up and really become true believers in the cause, which is just it's great to see every time it happens.
Yeah, I love it. You not only are a teacher, youth minister, but I didn't even know this until I talked to you the other day on the phone. Also, you've been involved in radio, you've done podcasts, YouTube videos, you've got a website, thegraciousguest.org. You've put a lot of thought into this issue. In fact, the human family as the image of God is something that you like to really stress. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, it's great because there's a little promo yesterday in my class. I showed a video I found online that was just a promo from a few years ago that I thought did this really well, that lined up video of the march with a speech from Dr. King about, coming to D.C. to cash this check. And in talking to them, I thought it was a good springboard to look at how do we now today look back at slavery. It's unimaginable. We can't imagine how anyone could have turned a blind eye to it, how anyone could have let it happen. And I told them outright, I said, guys, my hope is that 100 years from now, hopefully sooner than that, people in your seats can look back at this time and be scratching their heads at looking at a past tense thing, that how could we possibly have not been able to understand that a baby in its mother's womb is a human being.
Yeah.
And I love Trent Horn from Catholic Answers. I'll give him full credit on this. He loves to make the argument that human beings should be protected equally under law, based, certainly not based on just on where they live or how big they are.
Exactly.
No matter how big or small you are, no matter where you live, either outside or inside your mother's womb, you should just be afforded the same legal rights that every other human being is. It's as simple as that.
Amazing. I wish I had more time. Mike, if you can hang on, I'm going to hang on with you, but I want to bring Dr. Peggy Morrow on with us as well. She's a fellow teacher at Homeschool Connections. Again, thanks to Walter Crawford for connecting us. And she, interesting story, she lives out in Colorado, but her parents, and she grew up in Bowie, Maryland at Sacred Heart Parish. Dr. Peggy, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, amazing that we had a guest on earlier who said that he grew up in D.C., but he never went to the march. This is your first time to go to the march, despite having lived in the D.C. area for quite a number of years, right?
Yes, I have been out in Colorado for 20 years, but I lived here for 36. And it's been on my bucket list, and I'm inspired by my students that travel across the country, but I've never actually gone. When you visit D.C. and all your families here, you only have time to visit family.
Yeah, it is amazing. And you come from, I guess, an amazing parish there in Bowie, Maryland, Sacred Heart Parish. In fact, you're going with a group. You're going to be on a bus, I guess, here shortly, going out to the march with that group. And you sent me an email about this parish. Pretty amazing. Can you tell a couple of significant facts about Sacred Heart Parish in Bowie, Maryland?
Sure. So it's the parish I grew up in, received my first communion, but most importantly, so in the past, Sacred Heart was the church where they met and elected the first bishop for the U.S. states, Archbishop Carroll, and they planned Georgetown University, and it was a plantation, and they had slaves, and so they were sold for the endowment money to fund and keep Georgetown's doors opened. So that's in the far past. In the recent past, the priest who came to the parish when I was 10 years old, Father Thomas Wells, is the priest that the book, The Priest We Need to Save the Church, that's where he got his first assignment. And he was very pro-life, and I was, in fact, a teen mom just a couple years after Roe v. Wade, because I'm old now, I'm a grandma, and he was very instrumental in my choice for life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Dr. Peggy, I think we just have a minute left, Sissel, and unfortunately, I wish I had more time for... I told you on the phone the other day that I'd like to do an interview about this priest or maybe about your parish, and so anyways, God bless you. Mike Creevy, also, thank you, and I know you are very inspired by the young people. We didn't get to that point as well, but thanks to you both for spending some time with us on the radio this morning. The clock is ticking. We got to let you go, but thank you and have a great day.
God bless you.
All right, so that's going to do it. Thanks, Sissel Anderson and Daniel DeMore, and also Diane Xavier behind the scenes making. I'm just watching this Facebook feed. She does such an amazing job with it. And so thank you all for listening. If you're out there, have a safe day. Thanks also to Mike Washabaugh and everybody out there. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
Blessed be God. Blessed be his holy name. Blessed be Jesus Christ, true God and true man. Blessed be the name of Jesus. Blessed be his most sacred heart. Blessed be his most precious blood. Blessed be Jesus in the most holy sacrament of the altar. Blessed be the Holy Spirit, the Paraclete. Blessed be the great Mother of God, Mary most holy. Blessed be her holy and immaculate conception. Blessed be her glorious assumption. Blessed be the name of Mary, Virgin and Mother. Blessed be Saint Joseph, her most chaste spouse. Blessed be God in his angels and in his saints. Amen.
KATH 910 AM, Frisco, Dallas, Fort Worth.
EWTN that makes it possible for us to stay at the forefront of this battle. And thank you for all that you do to defend life. May God bless you.
Sign the EWTN Pro-Life Declaration. Go to EWTN.com.
Our coverage of the March for Life, live from Washington, D.C., continues on EWTN Radio and Television.
All right. I think we're still on social media. I forgot at the end of the show to say that we were going to continue on. Hey, we're trying to figure this out as we go along, but this is the time. And Joe and the team down in Houston kind of started this. It's a little bit more informal, and some of the voices that don't have as much of a chance to speak during the radio program can talk a little bit now. We love to get your feedback on social media. I'm only able to monitor Facebook, and so if you want to make a comment about anything we talked about during the show, I got to skedaddle here pretty quickly, so I'm just going to let Sissel and Daniel and even Diane, if she wants to jump in, may have some comments. Anything, Sissel?
Yeah, actually, I like the conversation. Obviously, we were talking about so many great aspects about the pro-life movement, but we talked briefly about people in Hollywood, and that's a subject that interests me a lot because that's not particularly Hollywood, but film and TV is kind of what I'm going into. And we're talking about how a lot of people in Hollywood, it's kind of assumed that there are quite a few, and I agree that there are quite a few people in Hollywood who actually are pro-life and are just too scared to bring it up. And I just wanted to mention that if you're interested in going those fields, don't be too scared about that, especially nowadays. Now that there's more than Hollywood out there, there's a lot of independent film. There's other platforms that you can make content. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
that,
and
it's really good.
I was starting to make a list of outspokenly pro-life people in Hollywood, and here's who John Voight, who is Angelina Jolie's father.
Right.
He's pro-life. He's more conservative. Mel Gibson, I think, would be considered pro-life. Clint Eastwood. I mean, these are
Clint Eastwood. I did not know that one.
Well, let's just say he's conservative. I don't know that he speaks out on life issues, so maybe I shouldn't put him on the list. I know he's not in the Hollywood liberal camp. Let's just say that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's making movies like American Sniper, which is very patriotic, and he spoke at the Republican convention.
That's true.
8 years ago or so. But anyway, there's probably more. Maybe I'm missing them.
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say Chris Pratt.
Oh, Chris Pratt.
I'm pretty sure he's pro-life.
I'm pretty sure he is too. I don't know if he's outspokenly said so.
Yeah.
Just like another person, Robert Downey Jr.
Oh.
I think he might be because he's actually he's not Democrat.
Yeah,
He's
Justin Bieber is pro-life.
That's true.
I don't know that he goes around talking about it a lot. His mom is very pro-life, and you know who else's mom is very, very conservative Christian? Brad Pitt. I mean, Brad Pitt's mom is very, very conservative, which is interesting because he was married to Angelina Jolie, so they both have these, pretty solid parents. But then Hollywood just kind of grabs you and just messes you up.
That's true. You got to think about obviously. Man, why can't I remember his name? The guy who played Jesus.
Of
course,
Caviezel.
Yeah, Jim Caviezel. Obviously, he's pro-life.
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, there you go.
One, yeah.
So there are some.
There are some.
These two in front of me, Sissel, they'll be talking about, Sissel Anderson's pro-life, that.
Yeah.
But, I think once you get to a certain point, like a guy like Mel Gibson, I mean, he's so successful. And
right.
But the up-and-comer, the guy who's just the lady's trying to make her break in Hollywood, you come out and say, oh, and by the way, I'm pro-life. I mean, you might as well leave town. It's unfortunate.
It is, definitely. But, yeah, like I said, there are other avenues now. And I think the thing about Hollywood is that it's a few really loud people that are, you know what I mean?
True.
That kind of represents the, pro-abortion side of things. They're just kind of like, they set that as, this is how we do it in Hollywood, but that's not, they're just speaking for everyone, and it's not necessarily
well,
everyone.
in any social circumstance, when you guys are in class or when you're in a room, there's normally one or two people that kind of dominate.
Yes.
And their voice gets heard, and everybody else is kind of like, I don't really agree with that.
But I'm not going to come out and I don't really feel like debating this right now in class.
It's personality types, and so you're right. And so,
especially if you're in a class of 100 people.
That's not a good time. There's a time and a place, to have those conversations. And, it's interesting. I think in education in general, it's also assumed because you're getting this higher education that you're enlightened and you should know that pro-choice is the way to go. Because I've kind of had that feeling, even at community college, that sometimes professors will say things like, obviously, we're not for Trump kind of thing. Like, oh, everyone in this room is smart enough. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
And I'm kind of like, really?
Well, it's like that movie God's Not Dead. Some people thought that was a little exaggerated, but the professor actually making all the students write down a piece of paper, God's Not Dead. I thought that was a good movie.
Yeah.
And you guys are in college right now. I don't know if it's that overt.
No,
but
not quite like
probably
that,
not.
but yeah. But still, there are little things where you're like, they're kind of going on the assumption that everyone believes a certain way.
Yeah, which is not true. And that's
not
why
true.
it's good to have 500,000 people in Washington, D.C. today, because
Absolutely.
those people don't believe that way. All right, I got to wrap things up. Next week, we'll do a longer one. Daniel, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, well, I would say just to continue on to my point I was making earlier about really listening to people. Like if let's say you're in a classroom and there's 100 people, really listen to what the person is saying. And when you're going to make your response, do it in a way, start your sentence as, so you're saying this, and then repeat their argument to them and say, you know what, here and here, I don't really agree with what you're saying, and here's why. Provide a logical framework for it. Because you could jump into religion, but I think you actually don't really need to do it from a faith point of view, because I think a lot of these things we just know inherently are wrong, and like faith can back it up, sure, but you can actually address it in a logical framework, which will actually get the person to rethink their ideas and maybe say, you know what, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe we do need to protect the unborn. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And one other thing I would add to that, just if you are talking to someone, just remember that they are a person too.
Right.
And just remember to keep that, even if you disagree with one another, they're a beautiful son or daughter of God. And I think sometimes, especially with the introduction of the internet and social media, sometimes those debates that go on, it's easy to forget that. Because sometimes I'll see things on social media that's one of my friends posted that I definitely don't agree with, and it's kind of, to some extent, it's very against what I believe, and I could go all like defensive, like you're attacking me, how could you say that? It's pretty unkind things about my beliefs, and I kind of get worked up about it. But then I see that person in real life, and I kind of forget all about that, and I just remember, you know what, they're on this path as well. They're in a different place right now. Let's pray for each other. That sort of idea.
Yeah.
So.
And it takes time to change. It's not always overnight. Sometimes it may take years for someone to formulate their opinions,
Yeah.
So everyone's on a different path.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, this has been a great discussion. Dave had to run out the door because he's got things to do. I've got class to run to. So we're going to, sign off for now. But thank you all for tuning in and watching on this Facebook Live feed. Next week, we'll do an extended version of this after show chat. Just keep listening to Catholic Radio, hear about what's happening at the March for Life, and just, if you're not there, continue praying for everyone there. It's going to be a great day. All right, bye.
There was actually like 3 people at the end there.
I hope it wasn't like all of our friends, like our parents, like watching. Version of this after show chat. Just keep listening to Catholic Radio.